Modern life is filled with televisions, mobile phones, and other electronics. Technology advances so quickly that many of these items are obsolete in just a few years after production. So they get replaced, and the old ones are discarded. And as VOA senior analyst Jeffrey Young reports, parts of Sub-Saharan Africa are now being used as the dumping ground.
Their conveniences, their necessities, their status symbols, electronic goods such as TVs and phones. In with the new, out with the old. From the trash bins of Europe, North America, and other places, this ever-growing mountain of old electronics often winds up packed in containers shipped and dumped somewhere else, despite international bans on such disposal. The massive scope of the so-called e-waste problem is stated via Skype from Norway by Rhiplo Norwegian Center analyst Nellemann.
The global illegal trafficking in waste, electronic waste, is at least in the scale of 50 million tons annually. And considerable portions of this is dumped in West Africa.
While electronic waste dumping takes place across Africa, two nations, Nigeria and Ghana, are standouts. The United Nations Environment Program says Nigeria generates some 1.1 million tons of e-waste and Ghana about 180,000 tons per year. To get past bans, including the Basel and Bamako conventions, the presence of e-waste in shipments is often concealed, as discussed via Skype from Abidjan by the UNEP's Abdurrahman Bari.
People deliberately send e-waste using this mislabeling. Labeling it has some equipment, electric equipment, but still can be used, but it's not true.
At the Agbabolshi dump in Accra and its similar sub-Saharan African e-waste graveyards, workers dismantle everything from computers and televisions to refrigerators, largely by smashing and burning things to extract metal from wires and circuit boards. Much of this work is done by young people, even children, and it's quite dangerous, according to the UNEP's Bari.
And doing so, they generate toxic chemicals like furans, dioxins, and they are directly exposed because they don't use any protective equipment.
These e-waste poisons not only saturate dump sites and the air above them, but when it rains, hazardous chemicals are washed both into the soil and eventually into nearby waters where they can enter the food chain and remain for years. Ghana has announced that it wants to establish recycling centers where things such as old electronics can be more cleanly and safely handled. Along with health incentives, these facilities have the technology to recover more of what is valuable, such as the gold plating on connectors and silver solder. Electronics manufacturing needs to be a closed cycle, according to an official at NGO Greenpeace, Elizabeth Jardim.
And it's also important for the companies that make these products to take responsibility for them at end of life and educate consumers about returning these products, incentivizing them to return the products so that they can handle them.
Ms. Jardim says Apple is one corporation that is moving in that direction. But until this closed cycle becomes the norm, Sub-Saharan Africa will continue to drown in e-waste. Jeffrey Young, VOA News.